Okay, hello, welcome back to another game of chess. Today we're playing e4 as per usual. The rating is looking very healthy indeed, steadily climbing back up. I'm overjoyed to see Alakhan's defense here. From my post-exam season loss of about 80 rapid elo, that sucked, but we're back, baby. We're back above 2200, and by a comfortable margin, we're going to play e5 here. And then after knight to d5, we're going to play c4, of course. Unless they don't play knight to d5, that would be fascinating. I think there's something called the Brooklyn variation where you just go back. I've seen Magnus play this, actually. Yeah, okay, of course they go across c4 here. They're going to go back to b6 almost certainly, and then a4. This is known as the Tate variation now in the Lichess database. Made a video about it a while ago. I'm claiming full credit for that. They go for d6. This creates room for the knight to come back. We were actually threatening to trap the knight with a5. The knight now can go back to d7. However, then I get to play e6, and then we get to maybe open up a diagonal to the king. Whoa. Okay, so they don't want to walk into any of my nasty little preparation with takes here and then, you know, d4, bishop d3, maybe queen h5, queen sack, and mate on g6 ideas with the bishop. Instead, they just move the knight. Here, there is zero doubt in my mind that pawn takes f7 is appropriate. They now bring their king. Okay, the king's weaker. The light squares are kind of weak around here. If we could get them to play h6, we'd have something vaguely akin to a free alien gambit. I think immediately just d4 makes a lot of sense. Maybe I should have gone for knight f3. I don't think I want to rush in and try desperately to check this king at all costs, although knight f3 probably will be my next move. But I'm not quite sure there's any merit to going knight f3 to then play knight g5 as quickly as possible. Maybe there is, but you know, playing d4, letting everything breathe nice and freely seems like the right approach here. Not letting them get like e5 for free, let's say. This is looking very alien gambit-esque. Of course it's not, but this is an exciting position. I will play knight f3. This has to be an improvement of the position. Zero doubt in my mind there. There's maybe half an idea that we take inspiration from the position. You know, if my opponent had played a5 here instead of d6, we would have actually gone for rook a3, rook g3. There is some universe, given that we've already pushed the a pawn so much, that we could go for a freaky little rook lift. You know, if I could sack this rook for this light squared bishop, why the hell would you play that? I guess you just want to prevent knight g5. That feels insane to me. I mean, the light squares are just absolutely toast right now. Yes, you prevent the immediate check, but this is almost like an alien gambit for those of you familiar. You all should be familiar. If you're not, please get familiar. But I haven't even sacked a knight. h6 is ludicrous there. I mean, I get that you don't want to see knight g5, but the permanent weakening of all of these light squares, I don't know. Something tells me that cannot be a move. Okay, what should I do? I'm just going to keep developing. I don't want to be burning loads of time. Maybe bishop d3 is going to be appropriate to trade off the light square bishop so that they have no defender of the light squares. Although if there's some way for me to win that light square bishop, say trade it off for a knight, I mean obviously knight h4 doesn't work, but if it did, let's say, and I were able to trade this off while maintaining my light square bishop, that would be the best case scenario. So I'm kind of just going to develop to see if maybe any opportunities rear their head. I doubt they will though, and so most likely I'm going to follow up with bishop d3 on my next move, see what the opponent goes for. The light squares over here are so weak. I can keep saying that in this kind of abstract, principled, pawn structural sense, but I need to actually find something concrete to do about it. Okay, they go for e6, which I guess makes some sense. You don't want to just leave backwards pawns and, you know, maybe let me get pieces in there. I don't really know. I think I will just go for bishop d3 here. I mean, you're basically forced to trade that light square bishop off, so I'll pre-move recaptures, and then you just have no defender of the light squares. If they don't take, then I'm probably threatening to take, and things look quite soft around here. I don't know. Okay, they do take, and they play g5. Hold on, g5 seems also kind of insane to me. I guess you want to like put the bishop here and sort of try and sneak your way in and hide. The thing is, I can maybe like bite here with h4. I guess g4 is effectively forced. There's no way I've got like a bishop sack, right? Here, check. If here I get to go check and win the queen, this is why I'm looking at this. Here, check. You can't go here, clearly. It's illegal. Here lets me win the queen. Here gives me queen g6 and probable counterplay with like queen f7, and here, very similar case actually. In fact, it might just be forced mate. Yeah, if bishop g5, hg5, knight g5, king here, queen g6, bishop g7, mate on f7. Okay, so hold on. You can't really go to any of these squares. So bishop g5, hg5, knight g5, king e7 is nigh on forced, if I'm not completely mistaken. Now, do I then have anything following that? I don't really think so. Unfortunately, I will have gotten rid of the piece, the dark square bishop, that could have probably punished the king being there. I guess it'd still be half an idea. Bishop takes, h takes, here, king e7 to go queen g6. Say queen e8's played. Do I have anything there? Probably not. I could just go for this king e7 and then like castle and play rook e1 as quick as I can. I really want to go for this. I just don't think it's actually a good idea, and I think I'm going to regret it. And the king is so weak already. If I play h4, it's just g4 though. I'm going to move the knight, and that really sucks. You know what? Nah, do I go for this? I'm desperate right now to play this dodgy sacrifice. Yeah, let's go for it. I mean, we get 2 pawns for the bishop. We get the check. We probably, we get this tempo. We get this attack. Maybe my opponent just believes me and doesn't recapture, in which case, free pawn, thank you very much. But I highly doubt that'll be the case. They'll almost certainly go for this and then play king e7. I mean, they could also play king e8, but then queen g6 check, king d7. I guess I'd have knight f7 and a fork there at least, because if queen e8, knight h8, the knight protects the queen on g6. I mean, okay, I don't really know. What I'm thinking of is that if takes here and they go here, I guess I just have check. You can't go here because then you walk straight into mate, so you'd have to go here. Then I can go here and fork the queen and the rook. And even if you pin my knight to the queen on g6, I can take the rook because this is defended. So I think just king e8 has to make no sense. So after takes, given that g7 loses a queen and the g8 walks straight into mate. If king e8 also loses material, yeah. I mean, king e7's forced. I'm happy to say that, or effectively forced. They are going to put quite a bit of thought. I mean, I'm glad my opponent respects me enough to be calculating this. It does look like a sacrifice that could be legitimate. I'm fairly sure objectively it will be dubious. I don't imagine that after king e7 there is a particularly forcing line where I end up with extra material, but I can put quite quick pressure on e6. You are kind of lagging in development, and I mean, the material deficit's not a travesty. 2 pawns for the bishop in some endgames, that's not bad. I am kind of coping with the fact that I've played probably a dodgy sacrifice, but I think I've done enough work to justify that it's at least playable. Something else that's convincing me is that we do also have quite a lot of easy expansion on this side of the board, so it's not exactly like the king's going to be able to find completely unperturbed solace over on a square like c8. We can still apply pressure. It's not like if the king gets away, the entire attack dies. And my opponent really is sinking some serious time into calculating here. Okay, they now finally move. They go for this king e7. Yeah, queen here is just queen e8, and there's no reason that I should go for that. I mean, genuinely, my plan was to go castles in here. I don't know how ridiculous that is, but I can get a rook to the e and the d file damn quickly. Although if I castle that way, is there bishop h6 and you pin this? Ooh, I don't like that. I really do not like that. Yeah, I clearly don't want to get rid of this. Okay, hold on. I think it's kingside castles then. Kingside castles. I mean, yes, this kingside is actually looking extremely dangerous long term. The open files might be a little scary. However, rook e1 quickly is all I'm going for here. Rook e1 quickly and big pressure on e6, because you're just not going to be able to push without me at least taking if I get to play rook e1. And then we're really opening up the king. And it's not at all obvious how you defend this pawn. Like knight here or here doesn't seem to be an option. The dark square bishop can't do it. Again, your lack of a light square bishop renders these light squares probably very weak. And if you run too early, by the way, you walk into a fork. The king is actually doing an imminently indispensable job defending f7 from the e7 square, so it's kind of glued in the center here. Also, I mean, the time situation is getting frankly more and more favorable for me, which I can't really claim that this sacrifice has justifiably put my opponent under that much time pressure, but I would have expected at least a good minute of thought. But it does seem to be that they're very scared of this, and even if this attack doesn't work out perfectly, again, 2 pawns for the bishop, it's not exactly like you've got a major material advantage. They go for this immediately. Damn it, can I sack this? I really would like to be able to sack this. This is an idea that I haven't brought to the public's attention, which by I mean you guys. I've been brewing it secretly. Knight e6 here, rook e1. Can you go back this way? God damn it, bishop h6 is annoying straight away. Man, I don't know. I could go for this and just sort of defend the knight, and if you take, I can take, and we've still got these ideas. But if here and takes like this, knight e6, I think I might be down a bit too much material to sack straight away anyway. Here, rook e1, just king f7. If king here, I have weirdly pleasant... Oh, hold on, that would be forced mate? Queen f5, king here, mate? I might just be too slow. This bishop h6 might have been very appropriate indeed. Here, I just don't think this works. I could go in for some kind of queen g6. Hold you out of here and here. Knight e6, king e6, queen g6. Put myself in my opponent's shoes. What do they want to play there? It's literally, let's flip the board and think about it. Imagining that after takes, queen g6, I guess you just run with the king straight away. Play rook e1 anyway. And I'm threatening queen f5, and that doesn't seem so obvious. You know what? I'm going for it. Dubious sacrifice number 1 was on g5. Dubious sacrifice number 2 is on e6. We're now going to be down a full knight, and I don't want to let you run back this way. So I'm thinking it's time to play queen g6. I don't think... okay, queen g6. I don't know. I'm almost certain I'm objectively losing. I do feel as though... You get hit with a check, and you get hit with another check, and damn it, you can go back here. Hold on. Whoa. Why would you play queen here? I have this pony. In fact, I can give this check first, because if you go here, you get mated. If here I get safe with check, yeah, it's queen f5. If you go out to c6, you get mated in 1. And if you go back to here, I can take this with check. Okay, sweet. Right. What am I doing now? I have the check again. I don't really see much of a point in that. I want to just bring in the knight. We're threatening to win this. I mean, surely this is good for me. Knight c6, maybe? What about rook e7? How outrageous is rook e7? Here, there's this. I can play rook e7. You simply cannot take this because I take fork and win the queen. The problem is that I'm also now threatening to take on c7. I must be completely winning here. I have to be completely winning here. Whether I deserve it or not, whether queen g8 was just a blunder that gave me the game easily. I mean, if my opponent could have found their way out of that easily, then I guess I don't deserve so much credit, but it's looking like I might deserve some damn credit. Hold on. I mean, we've got to do this, right? What the hell is happening here? You have to make a threat on my queen because, by the way, we have 5 pawns. We have a 5-pawn advantage. They threaten my queen. I can go double check. You have to take a double check. Oh my lord. A double check to end the game. If you could take with the queen here, if you could take this with the rook. No, no, no. The king has to move when checked by 2 pieces. There's some quote like even the bravest king runs in the face of a double check. Someone said that. If you know what I'm talking about in the comments, please let me know. But the king is forced to move and queen c7 is checkmate. I have no idea how deserved that was. I am almost 100% certain that knight e6 was just not a good move. But then again, the counterplay that I got, the time on the clock, I mean, from here, from this move, the check, the check, the check, bring the knight in, rook, I mean, come on, come on. Oh my lord, hold on. The first sack was good, I think. The first sack was best move. Oh my lord. Now, knight e6 almost certainly... Yeah, this is where... Okay, this is where it slipped away a little. No way. Hold on. Right, let's just go through that game from the start. So we went for this Alekhine's defense. We pushed and we pushed again. Right. Normally, our opponent... This is all relatively forcing. There's not... Or there aren't, rather, sorry, too many options for my opponent there. They can take here and then this. And then there are lines effectively where you see something like this here. And then obviously you've got this very pleasant queen sack. You could, of course, have taken g6 with the bishop, but this is far more stylish. So those kind of ideas down this diagonal generally make this this kind of unpleasant to play. You can absolutely go for it, play knight f6, build up with g6. You get hit with h4, h5. You know, black, it's understandable that they don't want to take here. However, moving the knight and letting me take here, I don't know, your king's kind of as weak as it was ever going to be in the other line. So that's obviously quite a questionable decision. However, d4, knight f3, perfect play by the way. h6 to me is, even though it's not actually, you know, it does barely anything to the evaluation, this is practically speaking the worst move that you could really play in this position, apart from, you know, just hanging a bishop clearly. h6 and just the softness around here, I just don't believe in it. Okay, anyway, knight c3, we've got a very nice advantage here, of course. Bishop d3, reasonable. Not much to be said about all of this. This was a fairly smooth, monotonic, increasing graph, roughly speaking. They play g5. I go for this sacrifice, and it was correct, which I'm very happy with because I spent a lot of time justifying that, I think. I spent, yeah, like 2.5 minutes or so. Then after they take, we take with check. King e7, of course. All those other variations were, I believe, correctly calculated. Kingside castles is the best move. It is absolutely the best move. Wonderful. They go bishop h6, and okay, I got a little greedy with my sacrificial ideas. The fact that this is only -1, by the way, was queen g6 the best move, the follow-up? Oh, come on, dude. Hold on. It's up there. It's really up there. a6 is also ridiculous and interesting. Okay, but queen g6, not allowing the king back this way, was frankly inspired. I'm really happy I played this. I think there were a lot of ideas that came from it. Obviously, we did well out of it, but it wasn't so much just hope chess, because I'd imagine the variation my opponent had to find was going to be nasty as hell. What should I have played here, though? f4, wow. The point of f4, of course. Oh, why didn't I think of that? That's really stupid. If you takes and just, you don't want to open this file, I'm attacking the knight. There's just absolutely zero way. Yeah, this is ridiculous. You move the knight and you probably get immediately killed. Oh, knight e5. ed5, rook a1. Okay. Yeah, that's nice. Of course, after this, we go takes or whatever. Yeah, that would have been very nice. f4 was kind of obvious. I'm sorry to you guys if you were screaming out for f4 there. Of course, that's a way to keep the pressure on e6 without having to sack the knight, and they can't really take this. However, we went for this. They go here. Queen g6, we've already ascertained, was actually a very good idea. Then, this is obviously a massive blunder. Now, the question here is, what was their move? King e7, only move. Okay, how obvious is that? It is probably what I'd have played as black, I think, just because I was aware of these rook e1, queen f5 ideas. Like, if you go back this way and you get hit with, like, let's say, for instance, this, then this is just going to be mate in 1, right? So I'd have been a little worried about that. King e7, and the point is, I think that you're trying to get back to f8. So if I go, for instance, rook e1 check, I'd imagine, yeah, king f8, and then I can absolutely continue the game and be threatening some stuff. Maybe bring my knight in, etc. But the king's pretty safe on f8, even though there are obviously no pawns around it. There are enough pieces, you know, protecting enough stuff that actually I'm really not threatening a whole lot. Rook a3, in fact, is one of the best moves here, to then move the knight, I guess, and play like rook f3. I'm sure there still would have been an interesting game, and my opponent and me would have both had like 2 minutes left. Or my opponent and I should say, excuse me. They instead go queen here. We give the check. Then we give the other check to force them to go back here so that we can take the knight with check. Ruthless stuff. They go across, knight d5 here, and then Give me that best move, rook e7. Thank you very much. Rook to e7. Of course you can't take because you get brutally forked here. Funnily enough, that might have been my opponent's best try because I had 48 seconds and, you know, even if after takes king here, I take this, you take... I guess I get the bishop in the end. That probably would have been kind of easy to convert. However, leaving the material on the board, going bishop here, letting me take on c7, and after king here, queen takes d6. I mean, this is immense pressure, and there's not a whole lot to be done about the threat of rook c8 and queen c7, which is quite unobvious. You'd imagine, you know, the queen would be able to take the rook or something. It isn't, you know, double checks aren't so intuitive. You don't see them all that often, and so it can easily slip your mind that you have to move the king. So of course our opponent went for this rook to h6 idea. If I move my rook, you know, for some discovery, then they can take the queen with check. However, if I move my rook for a discovery that also gives a check, king takes and checkmate is of course going to follow. Their best move, the most resilient move, yeah, was like queen d5. Then I can just take and you're clearly completely dead here. You gotta play bishop f4. Okay, this is just nonsense, throwing away pieces to postpone the mate. It's completely over after queen d6, and what a pleasant way to do it with rook to c8. Oh my lord. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this one. That was very fun to play, very aggressive and potentially a little dubious, but that's how we like it here on this channel. If you did enjoy and you really enjoy these kind of videos, there is a bonus exclusive weekly episode on my Patreon for £8 a month. It would go a long way to supporting the channel. You get a video just like this every Sunday, and also your name included at the end of all my YouTube videos. So your name can be immortalized in what will inevitably become the greatest YouTube channel of all time, maybe? Anyway, if you're not remotely interested, please continue to watch the videos. I massively appreciate your viewership, but yeah, this Patreon thing is something that I'm really trying to grow to be able to support me doing this full time when I graduate in a few months. So thank you so much to all of you who have already hopped in. We've got a nice little community building. And thank you very much to those of you who intend to check it out. Thank you so much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.